Good evening, everyone. Scott Barrett here, Newport Daily News. The To Be Named Later Vodcast, episode 3. We're off to a little bit of a late start here, but we've got a pretty good reason. Here with me today is Matt Kestler. He's the head coach of the Rogers High School baseball team. You can't see his pants here, but he's in full uniform. He just came from a game. Let's see, he's right here. Look at it.
There they are.
Look at there. From a game, Exeter West Greenwich on the road today. Rogers loses 4-3 in 10 innings. We were hoping to we set this up a couple days ago. We said, you know what, you should be able to get here by 7:30,
no
and then you go 10 innings. You know what, that's just the way it always goes sometimes. All right, so you lose 4-3. You drop the season series 2-1. They will be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You will be number 2. What did you tell the guys after the loss?
Well, I told them, this was our first goal. Our first goal was to become conference champions this year. We were or even champions last year,
right?
With 2 other teams. So we wanted that for ourselves. Yet we didn't bring it enough to win that game today. And that's what I told them. That team didn't beat us. We made too many mistakes to win the game. And, ultimately that's what happened. We unfortunately ruined a great performance by Jack Gomes on the mound, as usual, too. And, at the end of the day, when you're playing a good team, you have to play well, and we didn't.
Is it give, kind of motivation going in to say, listen, if we don't bring this, this is what happens. And we won't be on top, come when all is said and done.
Yeah, and it's tough with the new formula this year too, playing teams back to back. I mean, we kind of beat them up the other night. They threw their ace. We beat them 8-1. Probably should have been worse than that. Tonight they throw a righty who's not that impressive, and we just didn't hit the ball well. And more importantly, and this is a stat we haven't gotten to yet, but we left 8 runners in scoring position.
In scoring position, scoring second, third.
So not just on base, in scoring position.
Right. Tough when you score 3 runs and then you look back at something like that.
We had bases loaded in the top of the first inning with a run in and 1 out, and we left them.
Yeah.
And then we came back in the 3rd inning, 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, and we left them.
Yeah.
Can't do that, not in big games.
Well, you know what? Let's just take a little bit of a side tangent. So you're talking about the back-to-backs, and this is the first year that the RIIL baseball schedule has done this. You play a team on a Monday, then you play them either on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And the idea was that so you wouldn't have to face their number 1 pitcher twice over a season, over the first half. And then if the rotation worked out that way, the second half. Thoughts?
For me, great.
As a coach, as someone who has the game plan, for these types of matchups.
Yeah. For me and what we have personnel-wise, I'm thinking fantastic. Because we have, 2 guys that I would throw against anybody in Ryan Crowley and Jack Gomes. And then we have 4 or 5 other kids that I have plenty of confidence, even though they're younger arms.
Yeah.
But I would have no qualms about putting them in. They've gotten plenty of innings under their belt already, so advantage Rogers in my mind.
Well, you said that at the start of the year. The pitching depth was you had 9 guys that could throw the ball.
Right.
Yep. So, do you still have a sour taste in your mouth? You went back to back, like you said. You finished in a 3-way tie for first during the regular season, back-to-back losses to start the playoffs, and done so. It was over before it started. Do you have a bad taste in your mouth, and do some of the guys like Jack and Stahl and Ryan Crowley have a bad taste in their mouth? I mean,
I would imagine so. I mean, that first loss last year against Classical, we blow a 4-1 lead in the 7th inning, and I'm thinking, well, there's a life lesson that will never leave these guys.
Right.
And, I'll say, I mean, there were times this season that, I learned from it. I've done things differently because of that. But, the fire and the motivation was there from that loss. And, hopefully that'll carry us again. I think that, course, we had a heck of a good season, and I think tonight the energy level wasn't probably where it should have been.
Right.
And I think this one's going to burn.
Right. You talk about you can use last year to say, guys, this is playoff baseball.
Right.
This is what needs to be done.
Right.
Kind of move it up a notch. Do you expect to be standing there when all? I'll put you on the spot.
Absolutely.
Do you expect to be the D3 champs?
Absolutely. We're the best team in the league.
Yeah.
Although, I saw you, Coach Sorella, talking in your first
episode 1.
Later to be named.
Found on our website. Go find it.
That's
it's
right.
Great.
Later to be named.
I know at the time.
Yep. And he said it. Sometimes the ball just bounces funny ways, and sometimes it helps you, and sometimes it hurts you. I'll tell you, in tonight's game, I ended up coming in. Jack had reached his pitch count. I bring Win Connolly in, and sophomore, doesn't have a lot of innings because he had an arm injury earlier. Does a great job and gets us through the 9th, gets us into the 10th. 2 outs, man on second, 2 strikes, check swing to the right side that dribbled between the first and second baseman. Jack was playing second because of his arm. We didn't want to have him at short. Sure. Exactly. Michael was playing a great shortstop, so we kept him there, Michael Weaver. Jack dives, turns, makes a great throw to Dylan. Bang, bang play. I thought we got him.
The guy comes around?
Yeah. Yep. Bang, bang play. I really thought we got him, but it was very close. And there you go. It's a check swing. He didn't swing at that ball, and that's baseball for you. Sometimes you just that just went their way.
You'd almost want a 2-run homer.
For sure.
So just say, we definitely lost, rather than have one of these plays that could have been, should have been, might have been.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get through that inning. We're coming up 2, 3, 4. They're at the bottom of their order. We're feeling good, but it wasn't meant to be.
Not today, anyway.
Not today.
So you are not just a baseball guy, but you are a football guy. Actually, you're probably more of a football guy than you are a baseball guy. So you played at Middletown High School. Who was it Rusty Frank Forge at the time?
For football or baseball?
For football.
Barry Clark.
Oh, Barry Clark was the coach.
Barry Clark, yes, BC.
All right. So, and that was what, 91 to 94-ish?
Nope. 90
to 93?
98. I'm sorry. 89, 90, 91, because I graduated in 92.
Okay. Then you know what? You better check with the fine people at Salve Regina University who have their website wrong here. So it says you played Salve from 95 to 98 and you graduated in 99.
That is correct.
All right. So what did you do in the interim?
So I played baseball for 2 years.
At Salve?
At Salve.
Huh.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Really?
So what'd you get? Like 6 years of eligibility?
I did. I worked the system.
I guess so.
So I went there. Coach Andy Andrade.
Yep.
Recruited me. I was actually set to go on a scholarship partial to Assumption College.
Yep.
That was where I was going for football.
Right.
I consider myself at the time a better baseball player.
Catcher? I see you as a catcher.
No. Pitcher, first and third. Corners and pitcher. Yeah, I was a good pitcher.
What'd you top out at?
Low 80s.
Yeah.
I didn't throw that hard, but I hit spots. I had a really good knuckleball. I had a good curveball. I was a sly pitcher.
Really? I guess so.
I didn't overpower.
Just throw over garbage.
That's it. You're guessing.
Right.
You're guessing.
Right.
But yeah, so I played 2 years there. Matter of fact, we got the first. I think the only or the first banner that's hanging for the conference title for Salve Baseball in 1994 in the Rogers Recreation Center. So I was on that team. We heck of a team, but my grades were not doing well.
Okay.
And Coach Cohen, football coach.
Tim Cohen.
Yep. Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Had originally recruited me as well.
Yep.
Baseball, football. It's going to be a club team. I'm kind of like, I get there and Coach Andrew is like, yeah, we play fall baseball, so you're not playing.
So you got to either just,
you're playing baseball, you know? And I was happy to do that. I was, it's not like I was like, darn. I was kind of like, all right, let's play some baseball. But yeah, the grades suffered. I didn't do well. I did okay my freshman year, my sophomore year, not so much. So I gathered myself for a year, worked, and hit the gym.
So you actually left school?
I left school.
Yeah.
I took a leave of absence.
Right.
Got out, worked, and lifted weights as much as I could. And one of our coaches that I worked with at Second Beach in Middletown, Paul Magliacco, him and I, he was on me to play football, and I said, all right, I'm in. So I ended up meeting with our line coach, and he said, well, I was a defensive lineman, really. I played offensive line, but defensive line was more my thing.
Right.
And the coach said, well, you can play defensive line if you like, but we're pretty set there, and we're pretty deep. But we have an opening at offensive tackle. If you're interested, you could probably play there right away. And I'm like, sign me up. Let's go.
What do you put, 250, 60, 70?
At the time, 260.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I wish I was 260 now.
Well, I mean, 20 years ago,
Not so much.
260 was probably a big guy.
It was pretty
now
good.
It's,
Yeah.
a dwarf almost,
It's undersized
Right,
now.
right.
At the time, yes, I was one of the bigger guys on the team and on the field at most times, So, yeah.
So you talk about Tim Cullen. I mean, So I went back. I looked at your 4 years, 33-6.
Yes.
I mean, and I've talked to Tim Cullen a number of times. I mean, he's a talker. He's a great guy. Why did that program? He said we were winning games that we should not have even been in.
Agreed.
So why is that? What was going on there? Like that's something special. As that program kind of is in its infancy,
right?
You guys are winning these games. You're beating Bentley.
We're blowing D2 teams out of the water.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is happening in Newport? Of course, this is opinion, but we had. Tim, being a Rhode Island coached at several different Rhode Island high schools, he, I think, was able to, pluck some really talented players that were overlooked in Rhode Island high school football. And the team being where it was, I think that a solid group of guys that were out to prove something, that played with a chip on their shoulder and probably played above our talent level. But, as anyone will tell you, and you well know, a team that is a gelled team that plays well together and, has the right attitude is a scary team to face.
Did he have to do some serious recruiting? I mean, like selling this new program to kids that could play at established schools.
Yeah.
I mean, he must have been a salesman.
I think that, yes, I think that's part of it because, I've told people 100 times, he was the type of coach that if he said run through that wall, then I'm running through that wall. I mean, he could pretty much get you to do whatever he wanted for him. And that, is the mark of obviously an excellent coach. I think he got some guys that maybe were looking for a chance that, like I said, maybe were overlooked, maybe just whether it was a grades thing or something that they didn't make it to their college of choice and the timing was right. I mean, we definitely had some ball players that could have played, I think, at much bigger schools. We had a couple guys getting looked at, even, Justin Hackley, big time receiver, tight end. I think he ended up having a tryout with because back then it was like the Oilers, I believe, something to that effect. A lot of we ended up having some transfers come in from some other schools. One of our defensive ends who was fantastic transferred from URI just because his buddy was at Salve. All right, good to have you.
Your word kind of starts to get around.
Absolutely.
You say, hey, they're having a good time down there. Let's go join the party.
Having fun, beating teams, and it's not a bad school to be for many, many reasons.
Right. As you found out,
That's right.
for that 1 year.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch back to baseball a little bit. Did a little search, and there's this picture floating around on social media of you and your 1992 American Legion baseball team.
Yes.
And down on the right-hand side is a little man named Charlie Day.
Charlie Day.
Who, it turned out baseball wasn't his thing.
Right.
He went on to, obviously star in It's Always Sunny in
Sunny.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So what was he like as a baseball player and guy, which is how you knew him?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, great guy. Extremely funny, as you well know.
You guys are what, like
back then.
16, 17,
16,
18?
17,
Okay,
yeah,
right.
yeah. I was one of the unlucky few that I was an October birthday, and of course got thrown into kindergarten when I was like 4 years old. So I was playing freshman baseball at Salve at 17 years old.
Yeah.
Mom! But, 16, 17, and the year before that, we either had 0 or 1 wins. I can't remember, but it was not a pretty season. And basically, it's a Middletown Rogers team with a couple Portsmouth kids. Greg Gizzy,
Yep.
who you know,
Yep.
and Charlie, who I think went to
The Abbey. Well,
the
he
Abbey.
was the Abbey. He was
Right,
the Abbey. Yes.
So, very funny guy. Not a great baseball player,
Yeah.
but a great dugout guy, great
Sure.
guy out on
Yeah,
the
I
field. Yeah, I mean, a lot
Kept
of
things loose, I bet.
absolutely, a lot of fun. Poked fun at himself quite a bit, and I kind of treated him. We all did as sort of a little brother, because I mean he was about yay big,
Right.
And, we had a team full of big boys.
Could you tell then that like there was a star quality to him, or did he just kind of flourish as he got into more into his acting, later on in life? Well,
Yeah, I mean, my take, if he did, it was lost on me. I was locked into baseball.
Yeah.
And, this is, this guy on the bench who's pretty funny, but I wasn't really thinking like this guy's gonna go on to be a movie star and have like net worth of $10 million.
You should have jumped on his coattails right now. You could have been his assistant.
Absolutely, I'm still trying to get a hold of him, see if I can bodyguard for him or something.
There you go. There you go.
No, we talk. He comes down. We had a friend pass away.
Well, because that team had a reunion not that long ago.
25-year reunion just
Right.
last summer. Yeah,
Right.
But every year we have a golf tournament for Mike McCarthy at Green Valley. Middletown kid, great kid. Got killed tragically up at a Patriots game at Foxborough. So there's a scholarship in his name in Middletown, and we have a golf tournament every year. Basically, it's a reunion, and he's made it down a couple times. So it's good to catch up with him. And 2 years ago, he was down.
That's great.
That was fun, yeah. He actually jumped on my back, and one of the kids I was playing with was like, dude, that's Charlie Day. And I'm like, I know. It's pretty funny.
All right. Last July 18th, you were hired to be the Portsmouth High School football coach to replace Ryan Moniz. You told us, I don't know who the reporter was. I think it might have been Josh.
Steve, I think.
It was Steve.
Yeah.
You said, I'm ecstatic, really, beyond words. This is what I've always wanted to do, be a head football coach. That was in July. As we all know, it's well documented. You had a month to prepare. And then things started to slowly fall apart. You lose your all-state quarterback, Kyle Bischow. So many other things. Just kind of went on.
A lot of things.
Right. The result ends up being you go 2-8. You get blown out by Middletown. And on December 12th, after 5 months on the job, you are not fired because, you
told they're going to go in another direction.
All right.
Thank you for your service.
Right. You're right. You will not be
rehired.
Re-upped for another season. Now, you told us that you were not given a reason for that. What was that day like for you when Steve Tresvant, the athletic director at Portsmouth High School, wants to meet with you? Are you thinking that? Are you thinking, well, that's it. It was a good run. You can't be thinking that after 5 months. Did that even cross your mind?
Oh yes,
it did.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Reality, I think. I mean, just knowing that it's a tough place to coach. I mean, it was definitely on my mind. I was cautiously optimistic that they can't possibly only give me, with all that happened, right? They can't possibly. Right. They probably will, but they can't, and I had enough people in my ear that had sort of convinced me that no, there's no way they're gonna. They got to give you at least 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, give me more than a month to prepare for my first season, I think would be number one.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I mean, I'll tell you, there's some really, I was really excited early on. So once I'm in there, I got my staff, now we're coaching. And I'm like, wow, we got some really talented football players here. And first week of double sessions, which they're not double sessions anymore,
Right.
but force of habit. It's camp. First week that we're allowed to have pads, etc. The Friday night, we get out. We have a great first week of practice. Car accident.
Yeah.
Right? Freak thing, slippery road, maybe going a little fast. Who knows? But I get a call at 10 o'clock at night saying 3 of your players were ejected from the car in an accident.
Jeez.
One of them doesn't look like he's going to make it. I'm on the job like I'm, 2 weeks going, oh my goodness, this is the worst possible, what can I do? So I call my OC, my assistant coach, Shane Parker.
Yep.
I knew he was working. This is what I just heard. He's like, I'm coming to pick you up. Okay. We fly up to Hasbro. Thankfully, as we pull in, we find out everyone's going to, yes, they're injured, but everyone's going to be okay, which was like, okay, we'll get through the rest. But my starting senior, or is it a senior?
Kyle?
No, Simon Roy.
Well, I don't want to say junior.
I think he's a junior.
Running back, right?
Junior. Slot receiver. Yep. Yeah. But starting cornerback, I'm shut down corner.
Right.
Flies. Great hands, already has an issue with concussions, I believe, and another concussion, terrible nose break, rough situation for him, big gash on his leg. A couple other guys, get injured. Tyree Evans.
Yep.
Great kid. I'm really excited to see him. Probably would have been the starting tailback. Definitely would have been the starting middle linebacker. Crushed collarbone. He's done.
Right.
That day at practice, we run a screen. We're in uppers only. Another kid, unbelievable, biggest kid on the team as far as not lineman-wide, but just a big body, defensive end, outside linebacker, tight end. Eric Federico goes down with a knee, ACL. So it was just first week.
It never stopped.
It didn't.
It didn't. It went from preseason.
Right. We just
And
carried.
so Kyle's injury was week 3.
Week 3
against
before
Central.
halftime against Central.
Against Central.
Freak injury again.
Right.
I mean, he had a special relationship with a couple of the receivers, Danny McKinnon, Brian Hamilton. We were able to sort of not show our weakness of the undersized lineman because Kyle had the ability to just get the ball out quick, on target. They couldn't really blitz him because he would just, pop that RPO right in there. And losing him because the entire offense was based around him.
Sure.
Started with what Ryan Moniz put in, and we sort of tried to ride that because we had such limited time to prepare. We met with them quite a bit outside of practice, being Brian Hamilton and Danny McKinnon, Kyle Bishow, and just talked about just lingo and language and what do you guys call this and what do you guys call this?
Sure.
And just
Get on
trying
the same page.
Yeah, just trying to get what we wanted to run for an offense as seamless as we could in the short period of time. So he gets that freak injury. We're pretty optimistic at the time because all he did was go down on his arm. His elbow.
Right.
I did see it kind of pop out.
Steve
a little
was
bit.
there, and you said, he's probably day to day.
Right.
And then
Don Levine from OPT was there. He looked at it. He said, obviously we don't know what inside, but his range of motion is good. Well, he's a real strong kid, I certainly didn't expect that he was done for the season,
right.
but that certainly changed our entire, ability to really be effective offensively at all.
Do you look back with, how do you look back at that season? I mean, the guys probably gave you everything they had.
Yeah.
It ended poorly. I mean, are you bitter? Are you bitter about it?
I was.
Yeah.
I was. At first, I was.
Right. And that's not surprising.
No. And I think it's, logical, I guess. I struggled with it for a little bit. And I'll tell you what, I think naturally I questioned, did I do things the right way? One of the things that I know was difficult for them was what they were used to with Ryan, which I never coached with Ryan, even though I know him pretty well. The way I do things, and I do things the way I learned under Art Bell and Coach Cohen.
Sure.
It was vastly different than what they're used to. So I know that they struggled with, a lot of what they considered successful ways to do things, and I'm doing things differently than them, and we're not having great success. Forget all the other things. I think that was hard for some people. But at the end of the day, I was pretty happy with what we had done with what we had. And
right. Do you look back and do you feel like you were almost a placeholder there? I don't know how many people applied in July or whatever it was. And
7.
Was it 7? Mm-hmm. So whoever it was going to be, and you got it. Mm-hmm. Was just a placeholder for that year, because you can't expect someone to have success with a month to prepare. And like you said, coming off of a certain way of the Ryan did things. Of course, a new coach was going to come in and bring in different philosophies and different ideas. And most coaches struggle. There was no way that you were going to keep up that level of success, Super Bowl runs, and best public school in the state.
Yep.
No matter who that job was that person doomed?
Had they had the same injuries that I had?
Well, I think even still.
But you're right. Maybe even still. You can't speak to that. My philosophy as things occurred, those negative problems that we had with the injuries and so forth, because there was more I haven't even talked about, but and I'm talking injuries, like legitimate like arm breaks and like crazy stuff. But my philosophy was, let's try to get as much of these younger guys taking advantage of this playing time that they probably wouldn't have gotten.
Right.
So that they're helping us and they're ahead of the curve for the next 2 years. And some of that certainly was some growing pains for, frustration on our part from a coaching staff, and probably some frustration from their part. Again, they probably were taught things a certain way, maybe for the last few years. And now we're saying, let's do it this way. And it wasn't lost on me that it was difficult, particularly for the older kids, the juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
Right. In a way, I actually felt very responsible and kind of bad for them because of what they had to go through. And losing their head coach, regardless of what anyone's opinion of that is, they lost their head coach, and now they have this guy coming in from,
Middletown.
And that's what I was just going to say, from basically the enemy, which, and I'm asking you to trust me, and it's like, all right, this isn't going to be as easy as I'd hoped, but, it's hard to say, but I can say now I got so much support, from messages through Facebook, text messages, phone calls from Portsmouth people.
Really?
Yes.
That's good.
Parents of players, some people that didn't even have kids on the team. People reaching out to me through Twitter, that played Portsmouth football 30 years ago, saying thank you for stepping up, and you deserved another year, whatever. That helped me sort of deal with my bitter disappointment at the time. And that sort of eased me off of the bitterness and said, you know what? I'm one of those whatever happens for a reason type of guy. That's just something I've always believed. So, you know, as disappointed as I was, I'm like, well, I guess I wasn't supposed to be here. You know, there's other things I'm supposed to be doing, and you know, well, that remains to be seen at this time.
Well, it's funny you say that because it's been brought to our attention that the job is still open, and it just got reposted. I know they haven't announced a new coach.
Right.
Would you ever take another stab at it?
I would never.
No.
Never.
Bridges have been burned.
Bridges have been burned.
Yeah.
And you know what? Not from just. I guess that's hard to say, because here's the thing. You know, the kids and I, for the most part, at least as far as I know, we built some good relationships. I'm still in touch with some of the players. They're still, because they don't have a coach, in essence, some of the guys that are juniors are keeping in contact with me, like, hey, I'm getting recruited. You know, this guy needs a coach's number. And I'm like, absolutely. Send him my way.
You know,
I was helping.
That's nice, because you would, you know, there would be other people that would have been felt, you know, completely spurned. And just, maybe, but you know, yeah. but then again, they're kids, you know.
But it's exactly
right. They're kids who need help and look to people like you, like coaches.
Right. What kind of coach would I be, or what kind of example, especially the amount of preaching and talking about things, you know, after practice, because I talk a lot, because I like to think, because it was giving to me, I guess, you know, in a gift sort of way. I like to think that we're coaching football, but we're coaching young men, you know. So if I'm going to ask certain things of them, then I expect that I should probably be leading, you know, in such a way that they can take notes from that.
So I know you're still looking. I know you're still looking for, you know, obviously maybe a head coaching job, but at this point it's May. I mean, are you still looking to catch on with any high school head coaches out there looking for an assistant, you know, over here? I mean, and would you ever go back to Art? I know Art wasn't thrilled that you left, but, you know, it was your dream. Like, right. You were kind of rocking a hard place there.
It was a rock and a hard place. I tell you what, and the timing was terrible for Art, because the other assistant coach also left.
Who's that?
Right after I did, John Horsman.
Okay.
He's at Hendricken now.
All right.
He's been friends with I think he's the DC up there.
Yep.
For many years. That opportunity came out. His son's about to be in high school. I think that's part of the reasoning he wanted to maybe go up that way. But yeah, I decided to throw my hat in the ring in Portsmouth, and truthfully, I thought my shot at getting it was minimal.
Really?
Yeah. First and foremost, I'm a Middletown guy, you know?
Yeah. Well, right. If you can coach, you can coach. I mean,
agreed. And not really knowing what they're looking for, and again, short time, and that they already have somebody in mind. There was guys under Ryan's staff that had been there. But I had interviewed for a couple other head coaches positions and done well, and it was more or less practice, I suppose,
right,
from an interview standpoint. And
yeah, so we shocked when they're like, yeah, you got it. So, and how did you tell Art a month before training camp starts?
Well, I had told him that I applied.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was shocking to him, because I had told him that I applied to a couple other ones, right, too. And it was the same thing. You know, hey, coach, listen, I applied to Portsmouth. I'm not going to get it, but I want to let you know. And, yeah, it was, coach, I got it, you know. And it was like, oh. So for him, I mean, it's probably bittersweet. I've talked to him several occasions, several times since then, you know, but we've never like had a heart-to-heart about it per se. But he, I would imagine in a way he's probably proud, because I'm under him. I'm his, you know, he's sort of my mentor,
right,
if you will. And now I'm a head coach. You know, and then of course the flip side of it is, you know, I was with him for 4 years. He coached me for 4 years, not directly, but he was on the staff. He was defensive side.
At Salve, right?
At Salve, yeah. Yep. You know, and here I am, same thing, going to the enemy, you know. And he kidded because that's what Art does. He likes to, poke fun and kid and, get out of here. You're the enemy. Don't come over here anymore.
Well, he should take it really well because he beat you 51-14 on Thanksgiving. So,
yeah, I think
I
think he took a couple extra shots he didn't really need to take in that game, especially considering what I had on the field for a product. I mean,
that's art, though. That's art. I mean,
you know what? It is
step
art.
on your throat.
It is art, and listen, when I was at Middletown, I've been on the other side of that too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So, I told the kids after the game, look, some of you got to play that. I mean, I had freshmen playing in that game. Remember this loss. Remember what happened here today, and feed this when you're lifting weights. When you're hurting at practice, you have to pull this up and let this fuel you going forward. I didn't get that chance.
Maybe not this year, but we can expect to see you on a football sideline sometime in the future. Because you're not done. You love to coach. That's your.
I would call it my passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know what I can say. There's things in the works.
Great. Hey, you heard it here. Look at breaking news right here.
News.
To be named later Vodcast.
To be named later.
Matt Kestler's going to coach again.
Yeah, for sure. There's no way I wouldn't, but I'll let it out a little bit here. There's nothing finalized. There's the ink's not on the paper. The process is very early. But I have been speaking with Coach Gilmartin at my alma mater.
Whoa!
Yes,
that's great news.
So that is very exciting. So we'll see. That's where we're at. We'll see, but I feel like that's probably it's a good possibility.
Nice to put on that blue and green.
It would be
of the Seahawks once again.
The Seahawk all over again. Yeah. So we'll see. Like I said, he reached out to me. We've spoken on a few occasions. I had mentioned to him at the Big New England Football Clinic back in March. At the Marriott, great clinic. He was presenting. I sat in on some of his classes that I was interested in. I'm an offensive guy. So, and I sort of mentioned, he had asked me, he knows, he follows, I'm an alma mater there, and, the alumni, he does, stay involved with the program. So, eventually we touched base again, and, he asked me if I was interested in exploring that opportunity, and I said absolutely.
Well,
so we'll see. There's no congratulations.
Right.
We'll see. I have spoken to a couple other high schools that reached out to me and asked my plans. One local, and I decided I wasn't going to leave the island, so I told a couple people thanks, but no thanks. But
right.
That's
well, good. We're glad to have you stick around the island. We don't have to go over a bridge to go see a coach somewhere.
No.
That's not how we do it here.
No, it's a very, very long bridge.
Right. 2 miles. It seems way longer than that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about it. I'd like to thank Matt Kestler, Rogers Baseball, and soon-to-be football coach somewhere, hopefully Salve. You never know. You never coach. Coach Gilmartin, good guy right here. All right. Again, if anyone has any questions for Matt, fire them away right about now because we're going to end this thing. If you guys have any suggestions on who should be in this chair next, we got a couple people lined up, maybe for more in June as things start to happen in July. Let us know. We'd love to come in and have a nice chat, just like we did with Matt here. Guys, take care. Thank you.